Her stomach twists so violently she thinks she might be sick. Logan. And her. Arm in arm. Laughing like they've never known pain. It's a scene she's rehearsed 100 times in her nightmares, but the reality is sharper, crueler. Her breath snags in her chest, and every muscle in her body locks. She feels the heat of embarrassment rising fast, a warning she seconds away from unraveling right there in front of him. Her eyes dart, searching, anything, anyone. And then she moves without thinking. Her fingers close around the sleeve of the man closest to her, her grip urgent, almost desperate. She steps into him, her body angling toward his as if they've done this 1,000 times. He turns his head slightly, brows lifting in quiet surprise. Should I be worried? The tone is smooth, almost amused, but there's no mockery in it. Please, she says quickly, her voice breaking on the single word. Just go with it. Something shifts in him, an instant decision. His arm slides around her waist, confident, sure, as though this is his role and he's played it before. His hand settles low, not possessive but protective, and she feels the faint pull of him guiding her closer. She can sense Logan's gaze now, can feel it moving between her face and the man holding her. And she knows he's reading into it, drawing conclusions, wondering when, how, why. Her pulse hammers in her ears, drowning out everything else. She keeps her head tilted toward Daniel. She doesn't know his name yet, but his presence is enough. His stance says mine even though they're strangers, and she leans into the lie, feeling it wrap around her like armor. For the briefest moment, she almost believes it herself. They don't speak until they're clear of the lobby, her arms still hooked in his, her legs carrying her up flight after flight until the doors open and the night air presses in. She doesn't let herself think about Logan anymore, won't give him another second. Her hands are shaking, so she focuses on something simple. One heel, then the other, slipping them off and letting them dangle from her fingers. The relief in her arches makes her sigh out loud. She glances at the man beside her, still holding her in that same steady way, and tries to laugh off the knot in her chest. I could just collapse right here and die of heartbreak. Think anyone would notice? His mouth curves, just slightly, like he's decided she's not crazy yet. I'd notice. The answer catches her off guard, and for the first time since she saw Logan, her lips pull into a genuine smile. She shifts to face him fully, her bare feet cool against the smooth floor. I'm Emma. Daniel, he says, the name fitting him in a way she can't explain. She tilts her head, studying him like she's still trying to figure out why he went along with her madness in the first place. Nice to be your temporary boyfriend. His quiet laugh sends a ripple of ease through her. For a moment, the tension loosens its grip. She's no longer the woman fleeing humiliation, she's someone sharing an unexpected breath with a stranger who didn't flinch when she needed him most. And just like that, the sharp edges of panic begin to soften into something she can't quite name yet. They talk until the crowd inside fades into background noise she no longer hears. She notices the details now, his watch, the way his shirt sits like it's tailored, the quiet confidence that doesn't come from chance. He catches her glance and doesn't pretend not to notice. I know what you're thinking, he says, his voice low, almost careful. The watch, the suit, the way people look when I walk into a room. I've learned how to play it when I have to, but I hate the performance. It's an admission she didn't expect, one that feels like it costs him something to say. She studies his face for the telltale signs of arrogance she's known before, but she doesn't find them. Still, there's no ignoring the gap between them, his world and hers, and it hums quietly beneath the surface. They part without promises. No numbers exchanged, no grand farewell, just a brief touch of his hand over hers before they slip in different directions. By morning, she's certain that was the end of it. Then her phone lights up. You left your courage on the rooftop. I figured I should return it. Her chest tightens in a way that feels both dangerous and inviting. Before she can overthink, her thumbs are moving. Bookstore on Elm. This afternoon. She sends it without adding an explanation, without softening the invitation. If he shows up, fine. If not, she'll pretend she never asked. And somewhere between hitting send and waiting for a reply, she realizes, this man she grabbed to escape humiliation might not have been an accident at all. He's starting to feel like a risk she can't afford. She pushes open the door, half expecting the space to be empty, half hoping it will be, so she won't have to see the truth of whether last night meant anything to him. But there he is. Not pacing. Not checking his phone. Sitting cross-legged on the floor, a worn book of poetry open in his hands, eyes scanning the page like he's in no hurry to be anywhere else. You're really here. The words slip out before she can hide the surprise in her voice. He looks up, the corner of his mouth lifting. Not really my style, he says, holding up the book like proof. But you told me to come. So, here I am. Something loosens inside her, enough for her to lower herself to the floor across from him. They start trading titles, the books that left fingerprints on them long after the last page, hers full of raw edges and longing, his marked by moments he's held onto when everything else felt like a performance. He turns one of her choices over in his hands, then says quietly, I don't usually do this. Do what? Let people see me like this. His gaze doesn't leave hers. Because with you, I don't feel like I have to be anything other than just me. She doesn't answer right away, because the truth is, she feels the same. And admitting it, even just to herself, feels like placing something fragile in his hands and hoping he won't drop it. That night, curiosity gets the better of her. One search bar, one name, Daniel Archer, and the results fill faster than she can blink. Articles. Interviews. Photos of him in rooms she'll never be invited into, shaking hands with people whose lives don't touch hers. CEO. Board member. Benefactor. Each title feels like another brick in a wall she didn't see between them until now. The next time she sees him, she's ready for the weight of that knowledge to make things awkward. But instead, he's standing at her door, holding a small stack of books. Not just any books, the ones she'd mentioned in passing, the ones she thought he'd forget. Each one carries a ribbon of paper tucked halfway through, a quiet promise that the rest would be read together. She runs her fingers over the worn covers, feeling the warmth of the gesture fight against the cold facts she found online. You didn't have to. I wanted to, he interrupts gently. Because I've been followed my whole life, but rarely chosen. The words land in her chest like a stone dropped into still water, rippling out until she can't tell if she's sinking or surfacing. The weeks settle into something that almost feels like routine. Morning coffees in the bookstore before it opens. Late-night calls that stretch until her voice turns soft with exhaustion. Notes tucked inside the pages of books they pass back and forth, some playful, some so honest they make her pause before reading them twice. She tells him stories about her childhood, about the books she loved, about the ones she tried to write but never finished. But she never tells him about the bills stacked in her drawer, the rent she's late on, the way the numbers in her account seem to shrink faster each week. And he never tells her what's pulling at the edges of his time, the storms gathering outside the walls they've built together. At a small poetry reading one night, he sits so close she can feel his arm brush hers every time they shift in their seats. Then a man in a suit appears at his shoulder, leans down, murmurs something urgent. Daniel's hand squeezes hers once before he stands. Emergency call. I'll explain later. And then he's gone. Later never comes. Not that night. Not the next. Not the one after. When his message finally arrives, it's brief. She stares at the screen for a long moment before typing back, I'm not like the women in your world. His reply is instant. That's why I'm here. Her chest tightens. Their closeness is real, but so are the secrets that could break it apart. The silence between them lingers, but it doesn't end everything. One night, she pulls out the old draft she'd buried at the back of a drawer years ago. The pages are uneven, the sentences clumsy, but it's hers. She reads the first line, then the next, until she's halfway through without realizing it. For the first time in years, she feels that small pull of possibility, something she's making for herself, not for anyone else. When they meet again, there's no dramatic reunion. Just a quiet understanding. She tells him she's not ready to fall, and he answers without hesitation, "Then I'll wait on the edge with you." It's not a fix, but it's a place to stand together. Days later, they're sitting across from each other in a corner cafe. His gaze holds hers with that steady focus she's still learning how to accept. "There's a fundraiser next weekend," he says. "Art, music. I'd like you to come with me." She shakes her head almost before he finishes. "I don't belong in your world." His answer is immediate, and it lands without any of the polish she sometimes hears in him. "Then let's build a new one." For a moment, she lets herself imagine what that could mean. She almost turns back twice before they reach the entrance, but his hand is warm against hers, steadying her. Inside, the crowd is already watching. Their eyes follow her in that way she's learned to recognize, measuring, assessing, deciding where she fits. Daniel doesn't flinch. He keeps her close, introducing her without hesitation, his voice making it sound as if there's no question she belongs. Someone asks how they met. She catches the quick flash of amusement in his eyes before answering. "I panicked and hugged him at a wedding. Best surprise of my life," he says, smiling like it's the only truth in the room. She laughs, even means it for a second, but later, on the balcony, the night feels heavier. Voices drift through the open doors, two men speaking just low enough to think no one's listening. Cute, but temporary. It hits her sharper than she expects, sliding under her skin before she can shield herself. She doesn't wait for him to notice her slipping away. She just leaves, her heels in her hand, her pulse loud in her ears, and the words still clinging to her like something she can't shake off. She waits for him in the bookstore, her hands wrapped around a book she's not reading. When he walks in, there's no small talk. "Why didn't you say anything?" Her voice is steady, but her chest feels tight. "You heard them." His eyes don't waver. Words in rooms like that don't change anything. Actions do. Then he reaches into his coat and pulls out a folded piece of paper. It's the lease for the vacant space next door. No strings. No conditions. "I thought maybe," he stops, letting the offer hang in the air between them. She looks at it, then at him. "If I ever take it, it has to be mine. Not something you gave me to make me stay." He nods once, like he understands, and slips the paper back into his coat. Neither of them moves toward the other. The weeks that follow stretch thin and quiet. She throws herself into anything that will keep her from thinking too hard, but even Olivia notices. One night, over tea, her friend asks the question she's been avoiding. "Do you love him?" Emma doesn't answer. Not because she doesn't know, but because the truth feels too heavy to say out loud. She must decide if she'll vanish completely, or step into something that could strip her bare. She stands in front of the empty shop, the one he tried to hand her, the one she swore she'd only take on her own terms. Her reflection stares back at her through the glass, same face, same eyes, but steadier now. She presses her palm flat against the cool surface, feeling the thud of her heartbeat in her fingertips. The words form before she can talk herself out of them. She pulls out her phone, hits record, and lets them spill in one unbroken rush. "I don't want your money. I don't want a fairy tale. I want the man who held me like I was more than my panic. I want the man who reads poetry and remembers what I love. And if he's still out there, tell him I'm not running anymore." She stops the recording, her thumb hovering over the send button for a single, suspended moment. Then she presses it, letting the message go without knowing where, or how, it will land. 2 days later, there's a small parcel waiting by her door. No return address, no markings. Inside, nestled in crumpled paper, is a hand-painted ceramic bookstore. The windows are tiny panes of glass, the shelves lined with miniature books, and in the corner, 2 chairs facing each other. Tucked into one of them is a folded napkin with a single line printed across it, "Start the chapter." I'm already on the first page.